Hi, everyone. I'm Dave, and you are listening to my podcast, The Reaction Shot. Listen as each episode will showcase a movie that I love being introduced to a friend of mine that has never seen it. We will discuss, dissect, and review each film from pre to post-production, as well as its legacy. Will we see eye to eye, or is our scope of viewing a little different? Thanks for hitting play, because now you're about to find out. Fade in. Hey everybody, welcome back to The Reaction Shot. This is episode 2. Today we are going to be talking about all things Jawbreaker. It's a 1999 satirical dark teen comedy. Over the years, it has definitely become somewhat of a cult classic. It's honestly talked about day in and day out nowadays. I see people referencing it online a lot. Have it be about the fashion, about the quotes, about certain moments in the movie. It's just great to know that a movie I watched back in 1999 is still alive and breathing nowadays. So, with that, I want to welcome back my guest from episode 1, Lauren Drake. Hi, Lauren. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for coming back for episode 2.
Mm.
I feel like you're a perfect candidate for a lot of these movies.
Because I haven't seen any.
Yeah, I mean, just say it nicely, but no, that's great. There's definitely a lot of movies that I've seen. So I like to talk about them a lot. You're obviously a good friend of mine. So I'm always like, hey, Lauren, have you seen? And usually, no offense, but the answer is
Answer is
no.
always no.
So yeah, so I introduced you to this little movie called Jawbreaker. I'm sure you've heard of it before, B. I don't think that I necessarily introduced you to what the movie was, but I think you actually mentioned that you had wanted to see it, correct?
Yeah, I had never seen it before. I remember seeing specifically seeing trailers for it when I was younger,
Sure.
but I just either I wasn't allowed to see it or
No, I get that.
I
We were
just
young when it came out.
yeah, like 12, right? But you probably saw it in the theater, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I didn't see it in theater, but I saw it when it came to VHS. So,
Mm,
mm,
VH.
for all yeah, for all of you young listeners, VHS was what we used to watch movies on. Yeah, I actually wasn't allowed to see it when it came to theaters. My aunts actually rented it for me, and we watched it together.
The cool ants that
The cool, yeah,
scream. Yeah.
yeah. I have a pretty cool family. I feel like there was always
Ew.
somebody in my family that was like, "Hey, you want to watch this movie?" And I'm like, "Absolutely, yes."
Yeah.
So, okay, so a little bit about Jawbreaker. For those of you who have no idea what it's about, it premiered at Sundance Film Festival on January 30th of 1999. It ended up getting released to the theaters on February 19th, 1999, the day before my birthday.
Right
So,
after mine.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, there we go. So, see, Jawbreaker holds a special spot in our heart. Jawbreaker was written and directed by Darren Stein. Darren Stein was a lesser known writer and director at the time. He actually wrote the first draft of the script in 1994. He was 24 years old. When he originally started writing the script, he actually wrote it as a horror movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as he said, as he was writing it, he kind of realized that it wasn't so much of a horror movie, but a dark comedy. Once he started writing the dialogue, he kind of found humor in it all. So
Yeah.
that's what kind of became what Jawbreaker is known as nowadays.
That's
But he had a re
okay.
yeah, he had a really hard time selling the script. Every single studio that he took it to wanted nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
He ended up also writing a script called Sparkler, which ended up getting bought first. It was bought by a little studio. They made the movie. It got released. It caught on a little bit of traction, and at that point in time, a little studio at the time called Columbia TriStar was a home division, like a home video division. studio ended up picking up Jawbreaker, so they bought it, and they kind of let him have freedom to do whatever he wanted with it.
Mhm.
So the great thing was he wrote the script and he got to direct the movie. So his vision was 100%. They didn't really have a big hand in trying to alter anything, like a lot of movies unfortunately do. So it was definitely his baby. Um, around the time there were a lot of teen movies coming out. It was a really popular genre at the time. That same year we had Cruel Intentions, we had Can't Hardly Wait, we had American Pie. So the
Mhm.
teen comedy movies are just imploding. We have 10 Things I Hate About You as well.
Classic.
So yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jawbreaker just kind of came at the right time, and I think the reason why it wasn't received so well at first was because it was kind of the anti-teen movie. It kind of went against everything that the
Mhm.
other ones were about. So the studio gave Darren Stein $3 million to make this movie, which at the time was pretty low. Uh, well, so Cruel Intentions and Can't Hardly Wait that were being made at the same time. Uh, both of them together had budgets between $8 to $15 million.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so Jawbreaker just had the 3 million.
Okay.
So yeah, so I will say watching the movie, the million times that I have, it doesn't look cheap or anything like that. I feel like they put a lot of love into it for
Yeah.
what they had. So, with that, Jawbreaker got made. It was filmed in 30 days, which is a pretty
Really?
fast filming period. Yeah. Uh, yeah. And again, watching it with, the conversation I had about the budget is it doesn't really feel that fast paced or anything like that. Like they did it on a whim or anything. So I think they did a great job with everything that they had going around it.
Mhm.
Uh, obviously casting happened. They saw a lot of people at the time. They had people like Josh Hartnett auditioned for it. The
What
studio
for?
wanted him. What's that?
What part did he audition for?
He auditioned for Zach, I believe.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which when you watch the movie, I feel like you can kind of see that Josh Hartnett vibe at the time.
Yep. Yeah.
uh, so they started making the movie. Darren Stein was having a great time. He had an amazing cast. He cast Rose McGowan as Courtney Shayne. She's the leader of Our Friends. At the time, she was known for uh, this horror movie called Phantoms, and of course Scream. So at the time, she was a pretty popular name. Rebecca Gayheart got cast as Julie. She was from a 1998 slasher movie called Urban Legend, and she was also in Scream 2 with a very small part. Uh,
I don't remember
Now,
seeing that.
yeah, she's one of the fraternity girls. That's
Hmm. I'll have to rewatch.
Yeah, absolutely. Scream 2 is always worth a rewatch, right?
Yes.
Julie Benz plays Marcy Foxy. She had very small television roles. She's actually from Pittsburgh, so
Are you
yeah,
serious?
yeah,
Oh,
she's a little Pittsburgh girl. Yeah,
I didn't know
so yeah, she was on a bunch of TV shows, like single off episodes, like Boy Meets World, Step by Step. Uh,
that. He looked
her
familiar to me. I just have to
her
look
biggest her biggest role at the time, I would have to say, was probably Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She played one of the high school students who turns into a vampire. Her name's Darla.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah, I swear.
yeah, I mean that's probably what she was best known for at the time. I mean, she's gone on to do obviously a lot of things since. Most notably is probably Dexter.
Okay.
Yeah. Judy Greer is in this movie as well. She plays Fern Mayo, like Hold the Mayo, uh, who eventually is transformed into Violet.
Yes.
Uh, Other than a couple small TV roles, this was Judy Greer's first starring theatrical film.
Wow.
Yeah, I think she might have had a couple of small roles in movies, but this is the first time she was actually basically one of the main stars.
And now she's in everything.
And now she's in everything, and we love
Yes.
her. She's
We
she's
like
great.
her. Yes.
Love her. We also had Charlotte Ayana. I might be mispronouncing her name. She played Liz Purr, who had maybe a couple small roles at the time, but she's most notably known at the time as Miss Teen USA in 1993.
Oh, okay. Fun
Yeah,
fact.
fun facts for all of you who are wondering what Charlotte did before she was the iconic Liz Purr.
She did not have one line, I don't think.
So the only line she has in the movie is the recording on the greeting card when she
Yep.
says, "What are you doing to me?"
Oh my God, my mind is
Yeah.
blown right now.
Hey, yeah. So it's the only line that she has in the entire movie, and if you think about it, the whole movie pretty much revolves around Liz
Yeah.
Purr.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We also had Tatiana Ali in the movie.
Love her.
Uh, love her as Ashley from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Her role is very small, but because she was obviously very popular at the time, she definitely stuck out in the few scenes that she was in. Then we had Chad Christ, who played Zach. We had Jeff Conaway, who was Marcy Foxy's dad. Do you know who he is?
Kaneki.
Kaneki from
Of
Greece.
course I knew who he was.
I love that. Ethan Erickson played Dane Sanders. Pam Grier played Detective Vera Cruz.
Eric.
She obviously is known for Jackie Brown
Mhm.
at the time, probably one of her most iconic roles. She was also in Mars Attacks at the time as well, so people knew her from both of those. We had Carol Kane as Miss Sherwood. She was in the Addams Family Values movie. She played Granny.
Mhm. I love Carol Kane.
Yeah, she's obviously very iconic as well. And then down to Mr. Purr and Mrs. Purr, we had William Katz, who played Tommy Ross in the original Carrie,
Mhm.
and PJ Souls, who was also from the original Carrie. She played Norma, and also iconically, she was Linda in the original Halloween.
I need to watch all these movies.
Hey, I have lists for you we could
I
go
know.
through,
I
and you know
know.
me, I'll chat about them all day.
Yeah. I
If you're
noticed
like a,
that the girl from that 70s show was in it too.
hmm, who's that?
Eric's sister in that 70s show. She was like at the very end in the prom.
At the prom table?
Yeah, she had
Like
like the blonde hair. But yeah, that she was in that 70s show.
that is her. It's
Wow,
funny
I
when
know something you don't know.
you did. You taught me something. Hey, here's my reaction shot to this. No, I didn't know that. The funny thing is that when I had previously just rewatched this, I did think she looked familiar, but I had no inkling to even look into who she was.
Yeah,
She just had like a familiar face, but no, that's awesome. Hey, I
I
learned
was
something new.
obsessed with
Thanks,
that
Lauren.
show. So I was like, oh my God, that's Eric's sister in that 70s
That's
show.
that's her. I love
That's
that.
her.
Um, cool. So that was the cast. Pretty iconic. Reaction to the time to the movie when it came out, not favorable at all.
No.
No, critics absolutely hated it. Nobody showed up in the theaters to watch it. It was a critical and box office failure. It didn't. I'm I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think that it made its budget back at
Oh
the box
God.
office. So I don't even think that it made the $3 million back. If I'm wrong, I do know that it made very minimal money at the box office. So yeah, it's kind of weird because like I said, it was the anti-teen movie at the time, so you would think that audiences would be like, "Oh, here's something newer, more fresh, not a carbon copy of all these other things." But for some reason, no one cared. That dark comedy just kind of went over everyone's heads.
That's crazy, but now it's obviously changed.
Yes, yeah, definitely took on a life of its own over the years, and like I said, it's talked about a lot. We'll talk about its influences on films later on, such as Mean Girls.
Definitely the first thing I thought of. Yeah.
Yep, yep, yep. Cool. So Lauren, how would you describe Jawbreaker to people who have never seen it? What is this movie about?
So, Jawbreaker, to me is a story of an uber popular clique who kidnapped their friend for her birthday. And I'm like, who does this? And they kidnap her to take her to eat pancakes.
Hey, happy birthday to you.
Right. I'm like, oh. But, when they're doing it, the main girl, Courtney, head bitch in charge, Courtney, shoves a gigantic jawbreaker in her mouth and duct tapes her mouth, Liz Purr. They then put her in the trunk of the car and drive to, I guess, a diner for pancakes. And, sorry, my computer's back there. And then they, open the trunk and she dead. She dead.
She dead.
She dead, yeah. So they take a little Polaroid snap, not knowing that she's dead, and they're like horrified. Well, Julie's horrified. I will preface it by saying Julie is horrified. The other two, not so much. I didn't see the shock on Courtney's face at all.
No.
Yeah. So instead of calling the cops, they decide to cover it up.
Bad idea.
Bad idea. They drive to school with their friend in the trunk, and they call the school and say that she is sick, and Courtney's supposed to be sent home with her homework. Courtney's late. Bad on Courtney. And Fern Mayo, the high school geek, I guess, who I love, and in fact, like all these iconic outfits, I loved that like oversized sweater with the skirt. I was like, I love that outfit.
One of the things I really wanted to ask you was which character would you relate yourself to the most in the film?
Fern.
And the funny thing was, Lauren, I knew you were going to say Fern, and I love that because Fern is amazing. I love Fern.
Yeah. So Fern, obviously. Yeah. So they try and meet Fern there so that they can set it up to make it look like she was, I guess, raped. And Fern comes and hears them talking about how they killed her. So Fern, being the geek that she is, they decide to give her a makeover. They decide to give her power and popularity in exchange for her silence. So they turn Fern Mayo into Violet, which I actually really love that name. That's such a
it is.
Yeah. And it just kind of spirals from there. Jolie falls in love with this guy, and she's kind of like banished from the group, and he encourages her to come forward, and Courtney's whole plan kind of foils from there, and it all comes to a head at prom.
Prom.
Yes.
Prom.
Probably one of the best hairstyles ever is Courtney's hairstyle at prom.
Yeah, that whole outfit costume design is amazing. So that's a great.
Like, I want to recreate this for this podcast and show it to Dave. And I'm like,
oh my gosh, you should have. Come on now.
Never.
I think you could have.
So
yeah, that's a really good breakdown of the movie. It's a very interesting story. You can see kind of the ideas that Darren had that touched on the horror aspects. Mm-hmm. And like I said, as he was writing it, the dialogue, the characters kind of took on its own life as a dark comedy. But ultimately, what Jawbreaker became was, I think, works better the way that it is. Darren talked about how he was inspired by. It's funny that you mentioned who does this with kidnapping people. Apparently, it is a thing that people do. I was reading about some girls. Obviously, it gets more into like fraternities and stuff like that, but also some high school girls will do it to their girlfriends. They don't necessarily like tie them up and gag them. They'll pretend they're being kidnapped and like throw them in the car, but they'll buckle them in a seatbelt and take them to go get pancakes. So they drag them out of bed. They're in their PJs. So, like that's the embarrassment. Like that's the ha funny thing. So Darren Stein said that there was groups of girls in his high school that would do that, and the idea came from his thought of what would happen if that went horribly wrong.
Yeah.
So
I do, like, obviously hazing and like sororities and fraternities is a thing. I do think it probably happened in my high school, but my friends were not the ones to ever do that. So we're
Mine
just like,
either.
we're just like, hey, get in the car, listen to Britney Spears. We're gonna get candy. What do you mean?
Oh man, see, mine was in sync, or yeah. Yours is the
Wow,
Backstreet Boys.
we have this battle in sync
Yeah.
versus boys. Hmm.
Uh, Obviously, we all know the NSYNC wins, but it's fine.
No. Tape no.
No, 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 no. This is a
Yeah.
fight that Lauren and I have all the time, but it's fine. So yeah, it's a great breakdown of the film. So basically, like Lauren said, the movie starts off with a prank, a high school prank. These best friends, come into their friend's house. She's sleeping, and they basically gag her with a jawbreaker, this ginormous
Like
jawbreaker.
ginormous.
But the funny thing to me is that who would ever want to have a jawbreaker that is that big? Like,
I
what's the point?
feel like there were like novelties at candy stores. Like, look how big this, whatever. Come on now.
Look how big this is. Yeah, I mean it's just crazy to me. I mean, I feel like I would just choke on that without even having a piece of duct tape over my mouth with it as well.
The first time I saw the movie, I did not notice bit in her neck. The
Mm,
second time, I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't notice that before. But it's like,
mortified.
oh, how terrifying.
Literally
Woo!
though. Woo. I do want to call out the very opening scene of this film with the iconic walk down the high school hallway.
Yes.
This is
Mm-hmm.
prior to the actual kidnapping and jawbreaker death. The film literally opens with the four girls walking down the high school hallway. They're
Mm-hmm.
really wearing mini skirts, heels, and just you can just tell that these girls own the school. They have bright colors on. Uh, Fern Mayo ends up walking in front of them. She drops a bunch of papers, and the girls just kind of step over her, except for Elizabeth Purr. She
For
ends up,
sure.
yeah, she sits down and helps Fern pick up her paperwork. And Fern notices this as an act of kindness, while the other girls just keep on strutting their stuff down the hallway. But one of the things I really want to call out is Judy Greer's little opening monologue here that kind of sets up the tone of the entire film and who these girls are. I am going to read the line because I think, as another introduction to people who have never seen this film, I feel like this grabs you instantly on who these people are and what the story you're about to watch is all about. So she starts off by saying, first, you need to know something about them, the beautiful ones, the flawless four. Everyone wanted to be them. You know them. They went to your school too. They totally ruled. The one in the green, that's Courtney. She was the leader. She was like Satan in heels. The
Mm.
blonde, Marcy Fox, a legend in her little mind, known to herself as Foxy. The
Mm.
leggy one with the pigtails is Julie, doomed to be popular because of that face, and because she was friends with the one in the pink. That's Liz Purr. She was special. Everybody loved Liz. Not just because she was beautiful and popular and rich and smart. She was all of those things, but more than anything, she was sweet. Courtney ruled with terror, but Liz ruled with kindness. She was the Princess Di of Reagan High, and that pissed Courtney off. Liz Purr was just, well, she was perfect. I used to dream about what it would be like to be her, Elizabeth Purr. It's a shame about what happened to Liz. That was no way to wake up on your 17th birthday.
Yeah.
Um, Darren wrote that as, again, the opening of the film. It sets the tone for who these girls are, the flawless four. Um, you see the girls, how they present themselves. It breaks down exactly what types of characters they are. And I think he just did that perfectly. Liz Purr obviously dies, like Lauren said, choked by a jawbreaker. So basically, the girls go back to school and they act like, nothing happened. And as the day goes on, they're kind of just reeling in the idea of what happened. And as Lauren mentioned, Julie is kind of taken aback. She thinks that what she should do is tell someone, let the cops know, whereas the other girls are just kind of like, well, Liz is dead. She's literally in the trunk of the car out in the parking lot. It's just crazy how it doesn't phase them at all. And I think the dynamic of these characters are just funny too. The dialogue that they have with one another sometimes is super fast paced. And one of the things I love about this movie is it's so bitchy.
Oh,
Like,
so bitchy.
it's the way that
So
the way
good
that
and so bitchy.
yes, the way that Courtney is portrayed. Again, we'll get into this more later, but everyone talks about Regina George and Mean Girls and just how mean Regina George is. But I have said this multiple times on my social media page. If Regina George ever met Courtney Shayne from Jawbreaker, she
Yeah.
would cry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And,
100%. I would
yeah.
be a foe of tears. I could never meet her.
Yeah, it's the way that Rose McGowan portrays Courtney is fantastic.
I love
Her
Rose McGowan in this. So good.
like her line delivery, her mannerisms, like I could not imagine anyone else playing Courtney Shayne in Jawbreaker.
Yeah.
I couldn't,
I will say this movie in its entirety is so well cast. So well cast. Like
for
Rose,
sure.
yeah, Rose is phenomenal in this movie. Yeah.
Uh, so I actually read an interesting fact. I saw that Darren talked about how he originally wanted Parker Posey to be in this film.
I love
I
her.
I'm not sure exactly who he wanted Parker to play, but I was watching the movie. I'm just kind of like, oh, she would make sense to be this person or that person.
I feel like she's
Um,
Fern, right?
I would think that
Yeah.
yeah, I think Fern would make the most sense
Yeah.
based on the quirkiness of who she is. He ended up sending the script to Parker Posey,
Mhm.
and some time went by, and she ended up sending him a card back. And in the card, she said, "Thank you so much for thinking of me. I've grown a little bit too much out of my high school days, but if you're looking for someone in their late 20s who's balding, I'll absolutely play one of the characters." Um, so she sent the gesture to him saying, thanks for the script and everything. So the studio actually wanted him to cast someone like what their recommended was Kate Winslet to play Courtney.
For Courtney,
Yeah.
not sweet baby Kate Winslet.
No, I just couldn't imagine that. I
No.
can't picture it. Can't picture it all. So this all comes back to Rose McGowan is just perfect for this part.
Yeah.
I can think of a lot of women in Hollywood who have played extremely bitchy characters. I can think of Rachel McAdams who played Regina George, who's often compared.
Yeah.
But I can't even see her playing Courtney's.
Hmm.
Uh, Not at all.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
uh, yeah.
She's good.
Also,
Whole
yeah,
different movie.
I'm so
I
weird.
love her so much, but Rose is perfect for
Yeah,
this.
so I agree with you. This movie is perfectly cast. I think Rebecca Gayheart captures the innocence of Julie and
Mhm.
how Julie actually feels. Rebecca Gayheart just seems like she's one of those people who is not only beautiful on the outside but beautiful on the inside. As
Thank
cheesy as that sounds, I think she really lets that reflect in the character of Julie. So whenever the girls leave school and they go back to the car. They weren't able to pick up the paperwork, the books and stuff for Liz
you.
because we know that Fern took it. So the girls go back to Liz's house really quick to drop the body back off at the house.
So crazy.
Uh, what a mess. As the girls are carrying the actress up the stairs, they drop her body. Fun fact is they weren't supposed to drop the body. The girls actually dropped the actress on the steps.
Oh God.
So, but the girl didn't react to it. She kept playing her part as a corpse, and Darren Stein just let it keep rolling. So that's still in the film. So when you watch it and they drop the dead body, they really dropped that poor girl, Miss Teen
Yeah.
USA.
Miss Teen
Um,
USA.
yeah, how cool is that?
I am super cool. And I just I don't know. This whole scene, I was like, when they're like cracking her neck, and like holy shit, what is happening right now?
Yeah, the sound design, and then
Woo!
my
It's
favorite
like
part, I
those
don't know
chiropractic
why.
videos you see on the internet.
Yeah, no, it's exactly like that. It's yeah, that cracking is just ooh. They did such a great job with that sound design because, like you said, it sounds like you're really watching one of those videos, and you're just like, boy. um,
Oh
one of
God. Chills.
one of my favorite parts in this scene though is when Foxy makes that crack, like the crack sound
Yeah.
for the
Oh
neck when she turns it, and then Foxy screams, and Courtney's like, "What? Like, what are you screaming about?" And Foxy says she looked at me, and Courtney's response to this, the Rose's delivery, she says, "Her eyes are open. She's bound to look somewhere." I don't know. I don't know why. I just think that's so funny, but also really morbid.
so
Like,
morbid.
this is your best friend. You're moving her body around to look as if her death was an accident,
Mhm.
and you just crack this joke with her eyes being open and looking at. I don't know. It just again, it all goes back to Rose McGowan's delivery, and
So
I don't know.
good.
It just cracks me up. It cracks me up every time. So Fern's actually at the house. The girls don't know it, and she overhears them after she sneaks into the house to drop the books off. One thing I do want to talk about is there's actually a conversation online, and I want to get your opinion on it, Lauren. Is was Fern Mayo a lesbian?
I don't know. I feel like she's just obsessed with wanting to be Liz. I don't know if she's necessarily a lesbian. Like, good on her if she is, but like, I just don't know if I think she was just obsessed with the idea of being her. I don't think it was like she's in love with her,
Right.
you know?
Um, I couldn't agree more. That's actually my response too.
Yeah.
I feel like, especially as a teenager, we're all confused about things. And with Fern being as much of an outsider as she was, and the flawless four being as iconic in the school
Right.
as they were, I feel like there there was an attraction, but I don't necessarily think it was a sexual attraction.
No.
And yeah, and it goes to Liz Purr being the nice one of the group, the one who was willing to help her pick up herself off the floor. I think Fern saw the idea of being popular and she wanted to be that. And Liz was kind of like that gateway to who Fern is as a person, as well as the flawless four.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. And, throughout the entire movie, they make, lesbian jokes about Fern
Right.
and,
And obviously,
um,
like the moles on her neck part was like,
right,
okay, girl.
right. Yeah. And I love that moment too, because it's so out
I'm
there, but
like,
you just kind
sea
of accept
monkeys,
it.
what is happening?
Yeah. I think one of her lines in her little
Oh,
monologue there too is just talking about, I couldn't get the sea monkeys out of my mind or something like that, the constellations, whatever.
yeah.
But, yeah, good times. So, good old Fern. So, like Lauren
Oh,
mentioned
God.
like Lauren mentioned in the breakdown of the film, Fern overhears them. They find a birthday card in her room that has a recording on it. I feel like these cards still exist, but I feel like
They
they were
do.
very popular at the time.
Oh, yeah.
So basically, the cards that you open up and you can record a message for somebody. The previous year for the birthday, they surprised Liz Purr again at that point in time, and there was a recording of Liz Purr saying, uh, "What are you doing to me? What are you doing to me?" So it keeps playing over and over again. It freaks the girls out. Well, it really only freaks one of them out, but
Yeah.
uh,
Julie, my girl.
yeah, Julie's like, "What? What is happening?" I think Foxy's freaked out too because she was like, "I feel like she's in the room with us."
Yeah.
Um, so with that card, they keep looking at it, they keep playing it. The little record buttons on the back. So Fern shows herself. We then realize that Fern sees the dead body. So now she knows everything. Lauren said a great thing about this scene because Courtney's immediate response is basically we have a spot open now. We are the flawless four, and now one of them's dead. So this is your time to shine. And she basically offers her popularity for her silence.
Yeah.
So, um, kind of, kind of
This
morbid
would be
as
the best one
well.
in 10 years. Just wait, girl.
Literally though, literally. So Fern's kind of like, okay, cool, sounds great. I've kind of always wanted this. So
Yeah.
they give her a makeover, as all teen comedy movies do. But this was a
But
little bit different than like She's All That.
yeah, but in a iconic way. This
Yes,
whole
yeah.
scene, I was like, what is going on right now?
Mhm. Yeah, the way that it's filmed, it's weird. I mean, the camera's spinning around. You see Liz Purr's body. You see Fern mixing into the mix. How Fern's very slowly turning into Violet with the bleach blonde hair and the bright clothes. The flawless
Yep.
makeup, and there's some gay guys, maybe drag queens. They're just kind of getting this girl all dolled up, but it's also kind of gothic looking at the same time.
Mhm.
Very theatrical, I guess you would say.
Very theatrical. It's almost like
um,
this machine that's turning her from Fern to,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, so it's definitely a little bit different than a lot of the teen comedies at the time. So finally, Fern is a part of the group. And when I say Fern, I apologize. I mean Violet. Fern is no longer. So Violet is now a part of the Flawless Four. It's around this time that the girls are kind of introducing them to their high school politics, who the losers are, and we kind of notice in another iconic strut down the hallway to a really popular song at the time called Yoo-Hoo by Imperial Teens. Um,
Sing it for me, because I have.
Listen, I would sing it for you, but I think everyone would immediately turn this podcast off, and I don't want that to happen. So, uh, I would definitely suggest after the podcast we can listen to the song together. Or if you fast forward to the scene when they walk down the hallway, it's playing in the background, and it wasn't. I would say it was a popular like alternative song at the time. So every time I hear the song now, not that it's often, but whenever it does randomly pop up on some '90s radio, I immediately think of that little strut down the hallway with Violet, and um, I feel like that song kind of became what it was because of this film. So
All the
kudos to
music
that.
in this film is phenomenal. I was like, oh my
Yes,
god, I forgot about this song. I love this song so much. And I like downloaded a bunch.
they did
Oh,
good. Yeah, that's one thing I will also say stands the test of time with this movie is it is a late '90s movie, so I do feel like when you watch the movie though, it also feels kind of timeless because we're living in a time now where like that '90s
yeah.
fashion, '90s music is all coming back. So you mentioned
Yeah,
earlier, I think maybe before we started recording, but I think you mentioned that the movie still actually holds up pretty well to this day.
it
And
does. Yeah.
yeah, I agree. Um,
Beginning
so yeah,
song. Leave me lying here. I like that song.
yep,
I love
yep.
that song. I heard that. I'm like,
See,
oh, I'm in.
yeah, yes, and no one's gonna turn this podcast off because that singing was good, but mine, guys, you don't want to hear it. So, um, but yeah, the soundtrack's amazing. Also, the costume design we mentioned a couple times about the girls looking great. Fun fact: the costume designer is the same person who did the costume designs for Clueless.
Oh, I can totally see that.
Yeah, so those bright colors and everything, the way the girls are dressed, knowing that fact, I didn't know that until maybe a couple years ago. So rewatching the movie, like you said, you definitely you can notice it, you can see the inspiration,
Yeah,
um,
for sure.
kind of like a little, homage to well, like a little homage to Clueless there.
Bring back the platforms. I'm done with those. Platforms
bring
are.
it,
I love platforms.
bring it all back.
Bring it all back.
um, So Julie's out of the group, and the girls now are basically the flawless three. Julie's off
Yeah.
doing her own thing, feeling guilty about everything that's happened. We get a little background between a phone call that happens with Violet and Julie that when they were younger, they were friends. They would have sleepovers together. So I kind of like this moment in the film because it gives you a little background on Julie's innocence, and I feel like it kind of brings Violet to the surface again,
Yeah.
where she was really getting sucked into Courtney's world,
Talk about this.
and Julie's kind of bringing her back a little bit. Like, and we've all had those friendships throughout life that
Fun fact.
we're really
Happened
close
to
to people.
me.
What?
I was the weird one, and then they all became. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, no. Well, you know what, Lauren? You are popular now.
No,
You
I don't
are the
care about
Courtney
that.
Shayne in my life.
That's why yeah. I'm like, I want to be the weird one. I love being third male. You know?
Eh, embrace the fern. Embrace the
I'm
mayo.
wearing a sweater like her today. I didn't even plan that.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Yeah, you have like the sweater on.
God.
I try to wear some bright colors because, it's Jawbreaker, so I have
Oh,
a I have a green, like a lime green button down and an orange shirt and a yellow hat. So I'm super stylish basically. So
same here.
yeah, we're the flawless two right now.
Flowers too.
Um so uh Courtney tries to reach back out to Julie and kind of, you know, remind her that she's in charge and that Julie's a part of this group, whether she likes it or not, and Julie's not having it. And we got to a scene which is kind of, I don't want to say iconic, but a lot of people remember the scene from the movie because at the time it was super, super gay. Do you know what scene I'm about to talk about?
You cut out for a second. Sorry.
No, you're good. So the scene I'm about to talk about, uh, I don't want to necessarily say it's iconic, but I feel like a lot of people talk about it. The reason being it's super, super gay undertones. Do you know what scene I'm talking about?
I don't. What are you talking about?
Uh, Courtney's little bedtime fun
Oh, with
with
Dane. Yeah.
Dane, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so basically, for those of you who haven't seen this movie yet, there's a scene where Courtney has a lover over, one of the high school jocks,
Yeah.
and she has a popsicle, and she keeps telling him to suck the big stick. And I mean, she's pushing it in his mouth. She makes him gag on it.
Yeah.
She makes him use his tongue really erotically. She paints his chest with it. Um, I just remember being younger and being like, "What is happening right now?" Uh, for a big for this was technically a mainstream movie at the time. It was made on a
Yeah.
lower budget. Probably didn't go to as many theaters as other movies like Cruel Intentions, etc. Um, but this scene was a little stuck out a little bit
Yeah.
because uh, I feel weird keep saying it's so gay, but I feel like it was Darren's way of putting a really gay moment into the movie without doing it because at the time that stuff was a little bit more taboo and not as in your face.
Right.
So, and then another funny line is in this scene while he's, doing whatever to the popsicle, there's a knock at the door
Exactly what you're talking
and Courtney's like, I have to go get that. And he doesn't want her to stop what she's doing.
about.
And he says, don't go. And she turns around real seductively and says,
Don't come.
which is
Don't come.
don't come. Uh, and the way she says it is so like she obviously knows exactly what she's saying. We, as an audience, know exactly what she means. But she just says it so bitchy, and I love it. That's the best way to describe it. So the police are at her door, and um, the guy says, "Are you Courtney Alice Shayne?" And she says, "Maybe." And she does this weird, like, kind of bites her lip a little bit.
Yeah, like
Yeah, like, ooh, more boys to play with.
yeah, she's coming on to the police
Yeah,
officers. Yeah.
yeah. Um, so as this is happening, we have Foxy at home with her dad, who is who?
Kaneki.
Kaniki from Greece,
I love
who was my favorite. Me too. He was my favorite character in Greece when I was younger.
Really?
Um, yeah, I don't know why. I would always be like I would really be like I would always be like, Kaniki's so cool. My parents would be like, okay. A really stupid fact that no one cares about. This is so dumb. But I had I saw Grease and I ended up finding a box turtle in my backyard and I kept him as a pet and I named him Kaniki.
Oh, Dave, that's the sweetest story ever.
It's so stupid. So
So
yeah, there you
sweet.
go, guys. I used to have a pet turtle named Kaniki, who is portrayed by the actor who is now Foxy's father in Jawbreaker. Fun
Yeah.
times.
Listening to Kanahi sing Tiffany is something I didn't know I needed to
Hey,
happen.
you didn't know you needed it, and you're so happy that you got it.
So happy.
Um,
But he
yeah,
called her
so
out.
then
Called her out.
I did.
He's like, "You're a follower, girl.
You are,
Watch
you are
Oprah."
followers.
Yeah. I literally in my notes it says Marcy dot dot follower.
Dot follower. Yeah, you're right. I'm actually glad you said that. He does call her out. I think Liz was obviously the nicest. I then think that Julie had a lot of that innocence in her too, but she was she really kept it quiet in front of Courtney, kind of like a show. But I think behind the
Mhm.
scenes, she was also wanting to be like Liz, be that nicer person. I
Yeah.
think Foxy also has it in her, but she's more of like the henchman to the evil villain, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that follower aspect was very evident throughout the film.
Have you ever
So
seen V? You need to watch V
I
for V. But
I
Courtney
haven't.
is Helena Meyer and Marcy is the Tony Hale. He will do whatever she says. That's you need to see that show. It's so funny.
It's Julia Louis-Dreyfus, right?
Yeah.
Louis-Dreyfus, yeah.
So good. I love her.
Um, I've always heard good things. I mean, I know what it is. I don't know why. I just never watched it, so
Mhm.
I'll
Oh,
add it to
it's
my list.
you got to see. This is me telling you something to
Look at
watch.
you. Listen, I think we're gonna have our own podcast of just talking about all these things. Things I um so Pam Greer is the detective and she is on to these girls. She thinks there's something suspicious going on. She's asking lots of questions. She comes to the school, she goes to their house. She brings out a jawbreaker, she slams on the table, freaks Foxy out. She's like, "Oh, I know that thing."
Yeah.
Um, So Pam Grier is obviously on their case. So now we have a detective in the story who's definitely on to them. It then cuts to a scene, a little homage of a bunch of kids on a playground
Yeah.
with a jawbreaker.
Yep.
So weird. The jawbreaker on the screen is like spinning around, and then it cuts to one of those. I don't even know what they're called. The kids on the
Spinny thing.
playground.
Yeah.
Yeah, the spinning thing. If kids lay down, or you make it go real fast. They're like
Hmm.
laying down on it, and then they're all like putting their tongues and slobber all over these jawbreakers, and it's so weird, so weird. But I think it's supposed to represent, the innocence that are in these girls because they are high school girls, and that, jawbreakers or candy in general is, goes back to children on the playground, and I don't know. It's interesting scene. And here we discovered that, basically the whole school now knows that Lisper was found dead at her home. Um, Julie's all upset about it. She notices a lot of the kids being upset as well. Violet is still making
She walks
her
down the
rounds
hall
around
and
the school,
everyone's
letting people know who
frozen,
she is.
right?
Start to notice that other people are really paying attention to Violet now. They're like, "Who is this beautiful woman we have never seen before?"
Yeah.
Um,
How people are so
I know, right? So funny. Uh, Courtney decides to sign Violet up for a drama club to be the lead in the school musical or play. And Violet's like, I don't, I can't do that. And Courtney's like, it's not Broadway, it's high school.
school.
Like, so basically, the reason for her doing this is because she wants her to hook up with one of the guys
Zach.
that is, yeah,
Julie's
Zach that is
guy.
in.
Don't take Julie's guy.
Yeah, don't take Julie's guy. We know what these girls are doing. They are
So
being
angry at him.
mean
I was like,
girls.
Zach will pull through. I kind of
Zach will pull through.
The whole group.
Yeah, so Julie met this guy named Zach. He approaches her because he notices her alone outside of school. He
They
mentions at
go
one
to
point,
school bus.
yeah, he mentions at one point in time that he was shocked to see her alone because she wasn't around the other girls.
Yeah.
So he thought of the opportunity that this is a great time that he should talk to her for the first time. So we're glad he did because we like Zach. He's very nice. So obviously, like you said, Lauren, the girls are trying to get Violet into the drama club, into the musical, to kind of take Zach from her, break that innocence. Julie and Zach have a little date, and they get a little bit closer, and she really opens up to him.
Yeah.
So we kind of see them kind of pairing off. I feel like at this moment in time, Violet's kind of showing her power,
Yeah.
but Courtney's still technically in charge at this point. She is approached by Violet is approached by Pam Greer's character, the detective, and we get a little bit more background on uh, Fern's obsession with Liz Purr, and she talks
Yeah.
about the sea monkeys because she has a bunch of moles on her back or on the back of her neck. So there's a goofy little stuff, but it's in this moment that I'm sorry, that Violet kind of puts all of the stuff that's been happening into focus and realize that she has been handed this power
Yeah.
and she can use that to take Courtney down.
Yeah.
Um, there is a lot of references, and Darren Stein said that this was intentional. There's a lot of references to Frankenstein
Oh.
that Violet is like the monster that Frankenstein creates, and what happens when that monster that we create ends up taking us down.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, Courtney saw this as a move for herself, but Violet said, "Ha ha ha! Nope, I'm in charge now." So very interesting turn of events. Before we start to see what's about to unfold, we get a little background on the discovery of Liz Purr's body and what exactly happened.
Mm-hmm.
So Courtney mentions at one point in time that it was taken care of, meaning Liz's body, before the parents discovered her. And the other girls don't really know what she means because they know what they did together. But we learned that at one point in time, Courtney actually went back to the house to the body to set her up for something.
So
So
stuff.
yeah, so Courtney goes to the detective and says, "I know what happened. I think I can put everything together for you, and this is what happened. Liz Purr liked sex. She liked older men. She didn't like the boys in high school. She liked real men. So as this is happening, as she's telling the detective, you see who we assume is Liz Purr going to a biker bar, and all these men are staring at her, and they want her, and she comes up to this guy. This guy is played by
Freaking Marilyn Manson. I can't.
freaking Marilyn
I know.
Manson.
I can't. Yeah. Just this whole scene was so creepy to me.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's like I'll save my thoughts on the movie to the end, but this was like the scene I could not get behind. And obviously with all like the allegations that came out against Marilyn Manson recently, I'm like, this makes sense. Like him being in this movie. Ugh, I couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little crazy. So Marilyn Manson is one of the guys in the bar that takes a liking to, again, who we assume is Liz Purr.
Yeah.
He goes back to her bedroom, and as they start having sex, the camera pans down to underneath the bed, and underneath the bed is Liz Purr's dead body. And then that's when we realize that it's actually Courtney who's doing this. So essentially, Courtney went to this biker bar, brought a man back to Liz Purr's house, and had sex with him on her bed, on Liz Purr's bed, uh, to get his DNA to be all over the bed or in the room or however it played out. And she ended up setting the body up to look like she had been raped by this man. So essentially, she framed this guy for the death of Liz Purr and is now telling the detective that this is exactly what happened, and this is the story. And to the people in the film, that's the end of the mystery of what happened to Liz Purr.
Yeah.
Oh, so messed up. Like you said, it's definitely I feel like there's a I feel like that storyline nowadays would be a little rough
So raw.
to really play out. And like you said, the allegations with Marilyn Manson nowadays, just makes it a little bit harder to watch.
Yeah.
The film actually, I don't know how true this is, but I read that the film actually got an NC-17 rating
Okay.
at first for that scene because it was a little bit more explicit.
Um,
Um, they said there was a lot more thrusting involved. I don't know. I don't really know how true that is. Only because there's not really much of anything else that happens in the movie that's like super vulgar per
yeah.
se.
Really.
There's some foul language and stuff, but nothing else crazy happens. So I don't know how true that is, but if the scene was really that explicit, it's wild to think that this movie got an NC-17 at first. So
Yeah.
uh,
That.
yeah,
Yes. Yep. What is it now? Is it R?
it's rated R. Yep. Um,
That's probably why my
so
let me see if it.
yeah, I mean that's probably why I wasn't allowed to see it in theaters. But my aunt's like, "Hey, you want to watch this?" And I'm like, "Absolutely."
Yeah.
And it's funny because at the time I probably didn't even know half of these crazy things they were talking about, but I went along with it. I'm like, "This is amazing." um, so the film then cuts to Violet, literally taking over Courtney's position.
Dang.
She drives her convertible. Um, it's bright red. She's wearing bright pink. Her license plate says "bitch" on it. She parks right in front of the. She parks right in front of the school, like literally horizontal to the school, like not even a parking spot. She's just kind of like, "This is where I park now." Um, Courtney and Foxy kind of see this. Like Courtney's like, "What the fuck is happening here?"
What's going on?
Uh, yeah, what is going on? Meanwhile, Julie's out, with Zach, and they're having their little dates and their little kissy moments, and
Yeah.
she really feels at peace with him. Um, and
Good for her, right?
good for her. Yeah, she needs it.
Been
And
people all this time, and now she's something she could confide in, but be a real person with.
I think you broke up for a second.
You cut out for a second.
You cut out
Yeah,
for a
you did
second.
too.
Oh man, look at us cutting out left and right. Um, yeah, so Julie definitely needed this moment when she's on another little date with Zach. She really opens up to him and tells him everything: who Fern Mayo is, who Violet is, what happened to Liz Purr, and Zach's pretty much telling her exactly what she's wanted to all along. Like, you need to tell somebody about this. This is you guys committed a crime, and yes, you were a part of it, but we can put all of this on Courtney because essentially it was her who did it.
Yes. Yep. I mean, do you think
So
his reaction was a little like I was like, shocked, or I don't know. Maybe it's just
yeah, I feel like some of this stuff kind of plays into the fantasy of the movie world because even all of the girls in general, when Liz is dead, they're just kind of like, eh. I mean, even though Julie is like, oh, we need to tell somebody, she's still
yeah,
just kind of like, oh, Liz is dead.
yeah.
That's sad.
I feel
We
like it
used to
hits
be
her.
friends.
She's in shock. I feel like it hits her later, and the others
Yeah,
it just never hits.
no, they're
Yeah.
like, there was another girl at one point in time. We don't remember her name.
Yeah.
Um, so after Julie's conversation with Zach, she's kind of like, okay, I need to figure out how to let the world know that this was Courtney who did this. Meanwhile, Courtney's really seeing Violet take over the school, and she is pissed. And what really pisses her off is when she hears loud music outside. Um, she hears some loud music outside. She's like, "What the hell is that?" And her and Marcy go outside. Her and
This
Marcy
is like
Foxy
my
go outside.
favorite scene.
So they walk outside of the school, and Violet is just in bright pink on top of her bright red car, with
Jamming
her
on the hood.
bleached blonde hair, jamming on the hood of the car to a song.
People are
She's just
just
kind of like
watching her.
bebopping.
I thought the scene was, but I loved it.
Yeah, it's
So
so
funny.
funny because and I think it's very authentic too, because it's not like she's doing some like sexy
Yeah,
choreography.
yeah.
She's just literally on the hood of her car,
It tosses her
bebopping back and
head.
forth.
It
Yeah.
was so funny
Cour-
to me. Oh,
oh no, I love it too. It's so funny that it makes Courtney so mad.
so mad.
And and Courtney says, "Who do you think you are, Angeline?" Do you know who Angeline is?
No.
Um, she was a really popular uh model at the time. Well, not at the time, but I want to say it was like the 70s or the 80s. She was like a really popular model. She had really big boobs. She wore bright blonde outfits, and she would like model on like the hoods of cars and things like that. And she was like a man's dream. But I think that's funny because Courtney literally says it like that. She's like, "Who do you think you are, Angeline?"
I didn't get the
Um,
reference.
so Courtney ends up bringing her into the bathroom and slams her into the mirror.
Some of the best lines in this scene.
Literally, though, what uh, one of my favorites that I quote a lot too is Violet says, "You taught me to rule," and Courtney says, "That's right, rule, bitch, but don't forget who made you."
Yeah. Fucking
Oof,
crazy.
savage. Um, this scene is so good because this is when we definitely see that switch of power
Yep.
when Courtney realizes, okay, Violet has the upper hand here, and when she refers to her as Fern Mayo in this scene, Violet says, "I'm Violet," like you know, and then Courtney says, "You're whatever the fuck I want you to be."
So crazy. She's great.
She
Oh,
really is. Um, and then Violet gives her some sassy comments back, and I forget the exact line, but I know Courtney says something along the lines of, "Fucking shred you whore." Um, so I don't know. I just think that's so funny. But one of the things in the scene, I actually read a cute little fun fact is that Jamie Greer pulls a cigarette out of her bag and she puts the cigarette in her mouth and she lights it and then she blows smoke right in Rose McGowan's face.
yeah.
That was not scripted, and Rose did not know that was going to happen.
Oh my God. Is that why she like took it and was like, boom, down
Uh-huh.
it?
Yep. Yep. And I read again, I don't know how true it is, but I read that Rose McGowan was actually pissed that she did that. So her look of frustration was real,
Oh,
but she knew that the camera kept rolling and she was just pissed. And then Foxy runs over and Rose McGowan does this weird thing. I don't know. She's so angry and frustrated. She just like turns and she uses her hand and she cups Foxy's mouth with it and just kind of like smears the lipstick across her face and then storms off. And then Julie Benz, who plays Foxy, is just standing there and she looks in the mirror and she touches the lipstick and she's like, ah,
what the
like
fuck?
what was that for? Yeah, what did that, where did that come
Where did
from?
that come? To me, it like took me
Um,
back to the beginning where they shoved the Jawbreaker. I was like, oh,
right.
yeah,
Oh that's a good that's a good little connection there.
no.
Um, yeah,
And
kind of
there's the
insinuating,
line, "You're the shadow, we're the sun."
ooh, love that. Love that too. I think I sent that gift to you the other day, didn't
You did, and I'm like, I want to be the shadow.
I? I feel like I'm.
You're the
What
sun,
character do you think I would
baby.
be?
You're the sun.
I'm the sun.
You're the sun. You brighten everyone's days, and
Oh, you
you,
stop. You're making people think I'm nice.
you are nice.
Oh man, maybe.
You are.
No, I'm Courtney. What are you talking about? Just kidding. No, I think when people watch this movie, people will be like, "Oh, I wish I was just as cool and bitchy as Courtney is." At least me, or like every gay man watching this movie.
I'm like not books and want to hide my bangs like Fern.
The upper part's hidden by bangs, and the bottom part's just hidden by a book.
Yeah.
Love that.
For me. You
Um, so at this point in time, Julie and Zach decide to go to the detective, and they let her know that what they think happens, what they think happened, and they basically tell her like it is Courtney, it is Courtney. The detective's like, no, this guy went back to her house. She was raped. There was DNA, And Julie's like, wait a minute, that's actually funny that you said that. She said it herself. They'll believe it because it's their worst nightmare.
Yeah.
The very picture of teenage perfection obliterated by perversion.
Yeah.
Um, which obviously is exactly what Courtney did. This really popular girl in school, this beautiful woman, happy family, is just nice peaceful town. Is rocked by death and death and rape. Like how messed up is that? Um, Back at the school, Violet comes to school and she sees that there is a picture of Fern Mayo. Kind of looks like a wanted sign,
Yeah.
and it's Fern's yearbook picture looking all geeky and goofy. And it says, "Who is Violet?" And it's all over the school. It's taped up on the walls, and doors, and windows, and this makes
Biggest
Violet
terror
pass
in the
out.
90s is posting flyers.
Oh yes,
That's the biggest.
100%.
Yeah, yeah.
Those flyers, I tell you.
That's
Um, she goes to the nurse's office and she goes back into the hallway. She feels a little bit better. She still sees all the signs everywhere. And then Courtney and Foxy approach her. And Courtney sees this as a dynamic, a shift again. And she says, "It's over, bitch." And in this scene, I don't know why this always sticks out to me too. Uh, they stand in front of her. The way the camera's filmed, it's kind of filmed up a little bit and like skewed. So it kind of shows that shift in power. Like Courtney and Foxy are back in control,
Yeah.
and Courtney says, "It's over, bitch," and Foxy laughs, and her laugh is so evil to me. I love it. Like
I
I
didn't
actually have it
know.
on.
Go back now.
Yeah, you have to. It's just the laugh and like the way it's filmed, it kind of has like a reverb on it, so it kind of like echoes a little bit.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, and I don't know why her laugh. I if I ever met Julie Benz, I would say two things to her. One, what was it like growing up in Pittsburgh? Because I did too, and two, would be you were iconic in Jawbreaker. My favorite scene is when you laugh at your power trip over Violet in the hallway of the school. So stupid, but I don't know. It
Where
sticks out.
is part is she from?
I am not sure. I'm not sure, honestly. But I do know that she grew up there. So,
Nice.
um,
There.
yeah.
You just said it like
Uh,
you don't live here anymore.
well, I'm good old Powell, Ohio. I'm just kidding. I like it here too.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously Pittsburgh's my home though, so I'll always have a special place in my heart. Um, Violet's passed out in the school hallway. No one cares anymore. They decide to wrap her up in the, in the pictures like a little blanket, and I don't know. And Julie and Zach come to the rescue. They wake her up, and uh, of course, then Courtney and Foxy show back up, and this is when Julie's just had it. Julie pushes Courtney up against the locker, and she said, "Who the fuck are you?"
Yeah.
And she kind of says, they found a guy. There was DNA in this person's room. What did you do? That's so messed up. Um, they talk about how Courtney just likes to destroy lives, how evil she is, and then another iconic line comes up. Um, Courtney says, "Life's a bitch, and then you die."
Yeah.
And and then Julie says, "No, honey, you're the bitch." Um,
Ooh.
Savage. So, fun fact about that line too. When Courtney is written to say "Life's a bitch, then you die," Rose McGowan did not want to say that line. She thought it was extremely cliched, and she asked Darren Stein to take it out.
Oh wow.
So he was like, "No, we were doing this scene in one shot, and whatever." So in Rose McGowan's mind, she was like, "Well, I'm gonna botch how I say the line, so he'll just edit it out."
Uh-huh.
So if you watch her delivery for it, she like says it awkwardly, like not, I don't know, it doesn't sound very formal the way she says it. So she says it that way, and she was waiting for Darren Stein to be like, "Nope, I don't like the way you said that, so I'm just gonna edit it out. We can't do it again. It's the whole scene."
But
But Darren Stein, yeah, Darren couldn't edit it out, so it's still in the film, and people actually quote that line a lot, and it's referenced how she says it, how great it is, like how great her delivery is.
backfired.
So backfire, Rose. I got the. Well, you hear people say it to you all the time now. Just like, oh god. Um. So she's like, "I'll see you at prom tonight. But do more power moves." Julie and Zach are still trying to figure out how they can really take Courtney down and let the school know. We jump back a couple of times to the prom. We see the girls there, and we realize that Julie decided not to go to the prom. Um,
Mm.
Here, she's at her house waiting the prom out, and her mom comes in with a bag of gifts from Liz's parents of stuff they were going to get rid of, but wanted Julie to keep. So Julie starts
Yeah.
going through the stuff. She's reminiscing, and dun dun dun, she comes across the birthday card.
Card.
So she opens up the card to hear her best friend's voice. But what we didn't know as an audience was when they kept playing it at the beginning of the film, when Courtney had it in her hand, she accidentally hit the record button. Um, so do you remember what the line is? What the card now says?
Ugh, okay, let me think. It's like I killed a teen dream,
Mm-hmm.
something like that.
Yeah.
Something
So
like that.
she says, "I killed Liz. I killed the teen dream. Deal with it."
Deal with it. Yeah.
So once she realizes that this is a thing, she keeps opening up the card and she was like, "This is it. Like I have Courtney. This is the confession. It's her voice. She's saying I killed her." So she jumps off the bed and we know that she's gonna rush to this prom and she's gonna
They get
figure out how to
ready
take him
real
down.
fast.
Oh, they get ready so fast
They glow up
and it
real
just
fast.
yeah, it's that's why they call them the flawless four.
Yeah.
Um, they immediately just show up at prom, and I feel like we're at the same exact scene we were prior to all this stuff that was happening outside of the prom. Um, and Fern, I'm sorry, Violet ends up showing up with,
I feel like
uh,
she's back to Fern now.
yeah, I feel like she's Fern adjacent.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes. So Fernette, we'll call her Fernette. Um,
She's Fernette.
she's Fernette.
Isn't that like a
Um,
champagne?
yeah. So she went from
She's
being a
Fernette.
fern to a flower to a champagne or wine or whatever it is. Um, so Fern and Jason ends up going to prom with Julie, and they walk in all badass, like, "Bitch, we got you."
Yeah.
Courtney's all enjoying her life, and Miss Sherwood is on the stage about to announce the prom king and queen. She announces the prom king, who is Dane.
Of course.
Um, Dane was the popsicle boy,
Oh,
and
okay.
he's on the stage waiting for him to announce prom queen. And while this is all unfolding, Zach is in the back using his amazing nerdy techniques to use the vocals from the card and attach it to the speaker system in the school. Um,
Yeah.
so they finally announce prom queen, and who is it? No one but Courtney Shayne. Courtney. Um, so as she's about to give her acceptance speech on stage, it kind of gets quiet for a second, and you get the little speaker noise, and you hear it. I killed Liz. I killed the teen dream. Deal with it. And it just keeps replaying over and over again. Courtney's kind of looking around. The way Rose McGowan plays this, she's just kind of like, "What is this? Is this a joke? This is silly.
Mm.
That's my voice, but that's not me." But she starts to notice in the crowd that everyone is like, "That's her." There's some silly lines said here, and finally everyone realizes, and people start backing away from her. Dane even gives her the stuff back, and he's like, "I don't want to deal with this." Um, and then we see Zach come back out, and he gives Julie a kiss. And Rose McGowan's character Courtney is pissed. She just had everything taken away from her. And then in a very iconic moment, Julie looks at her in the crowd. They make eye contact,
I love
and
okay.
she, in slow mo, blows her a kiss,
Yeah.
which is a bitchy gesture, especially the way she does it.
Mhm.
And then she mouths to her, "Eat shit," and then gives her a little wave, and Courtney's livid. At this point, she starts walking up the stage. This whole scene is a big homage to Carrie.
Mhm. Was
Have you seen Carrie?
I have, but I was like probably 15, so I need to like watch it again. A lot of stuff
Sure.
I just need to watch again because I feel like I can
Okay.
handle a lot more now.
Yeah, you've grown. You've grown with the scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Courtney's walking through the crowd. She's actually on a dolly of some sort that's just kind of like pulling her.
Oh,
So
really?
she's not actually walking.
Yeah.
Kind of gives it like a dreamish scenario.
Yeah.
She's going through the crowd. They're all yelling at her. They're throwing
That's the
flowers at her.
It's just that.
hmm
Yeah.
they're calling her names. They're calling her bitch, whore, murder. She's she's in like she has a beautiful dress on. Like you said, her hair is done really well. She has a crown on, and she has good makeup on. And as she's walking through the crowd, screaming, she's trying to cover her face. She's smearing her makeup. Her
Yeah.
hair is getting all frazzled. At one moment, if you pause it just right, um, the scene is actually a callback to uh, the band Hole, their album called "Live Through This." The front cover is actually a picture of Courtney Love uh, in a similar scenario at a prom with her makeup kind of running down her face. And
I know
uh,
exactly what you mean. I loved them. Yeah.
did you notice that when you watched it?
I didn't, but now that you say it, it makes complete sense because I love that band, and we skipped over the Donnas, by the way.
Oh yeah, the Donnas were the band playing there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that was pretty cool high school to have the Donnas there, right? He froze.
Yeah, you froze too. Let it.
It was pretty cool to.
Are you there?
I'm there. Are you? I'm here. Are you there?
I'm here.
Perfect. So how cool is it for the high school to have the Donnas playing at
I
their
mean,
prom?
it's like I feel, gosh, I miss like 90s shows and movies where a band was just like a very popular band was just playing
Mhm.
all the time.
Yeah, there's like yeah, we'll come to your high school and
Right.
perform.
Like
Absolutely,
Buffy, like
no
it was
problem.
like I swear, Buffy, it happened all the time. Like
Always
always. I love that about the 90s. Just a famous band would
same.
just show up and just start playing at the prom. Like they think
Right.
they had the prom.
hmm Yep. No matter what, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter your popularity or anything. Um. So one more thing I want to touch on. One of the quotes in the movie. Courtney says, "I made you. I can break you just as easily." Do you know what that line is from?
No.
It's actually from the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
I know. See, that's another
Um,
at first.
really,
Oh,
it's been forever since I've seen it, but it's actually word by word a line that Frankenfurter says to Rocky, which is his creation.
okay.
So he says, "I made you. I can break you just as easily," which kind of falls back into the whole Frankenstein thing too.
Gotcha.
Um,
Okay, that's so cool.
yeah, so that's the movie Jawbreaker.
Yeah.
That's I don't know. I love this movie. Um, it will say that there's a lot of people that still reference this movie to this day. There's a really popular movie from the '80s called Heathers. Have you seen Heathers?
I feel like I have, but I I think I get that and the craft mixed up, which is so stupid. And I can't believe I just admitted that out loud. But
No, I mean, no, I don't think it's stupid. I feel like these strong female-led movies from the '90s and '80s, such as Heathers, uh, do have some similarities and different tones and stuff.
yeah,
Um, it wasn't often that we had movies with strong female leads and groups of female leads
right.
in power.
Yep.
So I can kind of see, the mix up there. But a lot of people who aren't big fans of Jawbreaker will be like, this is just a rehash of Heathers. They copied Heathers. And Darren Stein has said multiple times in quotes, my intention was not to feel like I replicated Heathers. I loved the tone of the film, the
Yeah.
idea of the strong female leads, and I took that and ran with it. And I will say that the tone is the same. The dynamic of the groups of girls is similar, but it's in no way to me and to some the same movie at all. Uh,
I love
they,
the feathers.
yeah, I mean, Heather's is great. It's fantastic. And like I said, it has very, bitchy moments like Jawbreaker does. It has great one-liners. It has some things in there that they probably couldn't get away with today. But at the end of the day, the movie leans in more on a romance side and is about a boy.
The heather
Where,
is.
yeah, so
Okay.
Jawbreaker, So Jawbreaker has the little moments with Julie and Zach, but it's in no way, in any way, a romantic movie at all. Um, Heather's has like a comedy romance undertone that is
Yeah.
not present in Jawbreaker,
Okay.
in in my opinion. Um, so you can definitely see the inspiration, but I don't think it's a rehash. However, Mean Girls, I'm gonna be controversial here.
Oh boy.
Um, I remember when I saw Mean Girls, I like Mean Girls a lot. I do. I'm all about art taking inspiration from other art forms. To say that Tina Fey saw Jawbreaker and loved it is obvious, and
Yeah.
that's great. And but unlike the comparison from Jawbreaker to Heather's, the comparison of Jawbreaker and Mean Girls is way more evident. The slow strut down the hallway, Jawbreaker did that. Like,
Yeah. But I feel like in Mean Girls, they're almost like, because obviously Katie like falls into like a trash can or whatever, right?
yeah,
So I don't know. But I have to go.
yeah. No, no, no. It's I mean, I do feel like again, I do know that art has a lot of inspiration, so I'm not knocking Mean Girls at all. I just think that if people are going to be mean about Jawbreaker being a carbon copy of Heather's, they have to be mean about Mean Girls being a carbon copy of Jawbreaker.
That makes sense.
Uh, yeah, so like that's where I personally, from a fan of the movie, get frustrated. Um, the people that love Mean Girls that don't honor Jawbreaker, you don't have to love Jawbreaker by any means, but
Yeah.
if you don't at least realize where it came from, then I feel like you're being disrespectful to what Mean Girls actually is at its core.
Well,
Does that
now
make
I have
sense?
more respect for Mean Girls because I had never
Yeah.
seen Jawbreaker.
Well, yeah, there you go. Yeah. So, I also wanted to include that I have messaged Darren Stein, the writer and director of Jawbreaker,
Yes.
um, and I asked him if he had anything he wanted to say that I can contribute to the podcast, like a little quote. And he did get back to me, which is amazing. I feel like he really loves his fans. So he said to me, I'm just glad that all these years later, people are rewatching it and new folks are discovering. I'm grateful it has a life of its own.
Yeah.
And I told him I really appreciate that. Simply because that's kind of what this podcast is about. The reaction of, me having a film that I love being introduced to somebody who has never seen it before. Um,
Yeah.
so you watch Jawbreaker for the first time, and I feel like that's something that he's very appreciative of, that, people are still finding it to this day, falling in
Mhm.
love with it or hating it, but at least giving it a chance.
Yeah.
And one last thing about where Jawbreaker stands nowadays is there's actually two different things happening with Jawbreaker. One is Darren wrote a Broadway version of Jawbreaker.
Oh my goodness.
Um, I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think they did like a one night exclusive where they premiered it in Los Angeles, so people came to see it. It was a
Oh,
one
that's
night only thing. But he realized over time that it worked better as a film, but in musical
okay.
form, such as Mean Girls, the musical. Um, so he basically said that he's in talks right now with the studio, the original studio that had this film.
Yeah.
Um, Basically in talks with them. I'm assuming he has a script and everything, so he's trying to get that to take off. Um, he said that if something like that works, it'd obviously be an updated version of the story, and he would actually have Violet be transgender,
Oh.
which is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I think that would be great for current times. I think that
I
still
agree.
sticks with the idea of, where we're at in the world now. So
Yes.
I think that'd be a great story to tell. So I'm interested to see and I hope that takes off.
Yeah.
Um, there was also talks about him making it into like a mini series on TV.
Oh,
So
I like that.
um, I like that idea too. I mean, even if you did both, I feel like I feel like there's enough story to tell and enough fun to have with it to kind of
Okay.
work both ways. Like you can redo the movie as a musical, like Mean Girls did, and then also tell the story, but add different elements to it and new things to have like a little mini series, as long as it's on something like HBO or something where because it has to be vulgar, it has to be
Right.
crude,
It
it
can
has
be
to
an
be
ABC
bitchy.
family.
Yes, yeah. No ABC family for mature audiences only. Where they say shit and that's the end of it all.
Yeah.
Um, but I want it to be bitchy. I want it to have the same tone. Um, we've mentioned before there's certain things you can't really get away with nowadays. But I think he should push the envelope just as much as he can.
Yeah.
Um, so
I agree.
cool.
Yeah.
Um, all right, Lauren, we're
Yeah.
down to the reaction shot.
Yes.
This was your first time watching Jawbreaker. You watched it twice now?
I watched it twice. Yeah.
Nice.
First
Okay.
time I just watched all the way through, didn't take any notes, like
Okay.
nothing. And then the
Took it all
second
in.
time, yeah, took it all in. And then the second time I like broke it down a bit more and took notes and
Love that. Love it.
yeah.
All right, Lauren, what is your reaction to Jawbreaker? What do you think about Jawbreaker as a whole? What did you love about it? What did you not like about it? And what is your rating out of a 10-star review?
So I loved it.
Good.
I feel like I'm so glad I didn't see it back when it came out or like a few years after because that Lauren wouldn't have liked it. You know what I
No,
mean? So this Lauren loved it. And
the
I don't know.
Violet version.
Yeah. I don't know. I loved everything about it. Like the humor, like Courtney was amazing. Just the quotes, just the whole thing felt like very iconic, you know? So I'm so glad that this version of Lauren, 37-year-old Lauren and not,
Yes,
17-year-old Lauren,
sure.
um, saw this because I definitely think I would have had a way different reaction back 20 years. Oh my God, 20 years ago. Gonna cry. Yeah.
It actually just celebrated its 25th anniversary on February 19th.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
25. Yeah,
Wow.
it definitely when it first came out, I probably wouldn't have understood it at all because I was
Yeah.
like 12. But um yeah, I'm because Lauren in high school was a goody two shoes. I would not have enjoyed it. But now this Lauren has embraced that she loves like true crime and like not just Mary Poppins and the Sound of Music.
What are those? I'm just kidding.
Okay, yeah, we're still gonna do one where you watch the Sound of Music.
Oh no.
Honestly,
Um,
beautiful story.
can't wait.
But I absolutely loved it.
Good.
I just thought like everything. We didn't even talk about how they changed scenes, like with those like little
Right.
noises. I loved that. Like
Mhm.
I just thought it was so clever and just it was so well like it was so well done. I loved it.
Good. I actually love to hear that. I mentioned at the beginning, I was not sure where you would land on the film. Part of me was like, she's gonna absolutely love this, and the other part of me was like, she's gonna hate this so much. So I'm really glad that you liked it.
Yeah.
Obviously, I love it. I try to introduce as many people to it as I can. Um, and I'm always like, you know, I have my favorite movies that we all know about, but Jawbreakers, maybe not at the top of my list, but it's definitely a favorite movie that I'm like,
Yeah.
have you seen Jawbreaker? You should watch it.
Yeah.
So what do you rate Jawbreaker out of 10? I know that this is not a film. I try to explain this to people with some of my favorite movies that I give high ratings to. I'm like, I understand this is not like an Oscar award-winning film.
Yeah.
Um, but there's a lot of things that contribute to a rating of a film, like a personal rating of the film. So what do you give it based on how you felt about it overall?
Um, I would say probably like a 7.5 to 8 out of 10. That's where I
Okay,
landed. Yeah. Like
perfect.
that's good. That's like I'm like one or the other. There's no movie that I'm like, oh, that was okay. I either love a movie or I hate a movie. So to be up there at 7.5 or 8 means I loved it. So,
Nice.
but it's
Cool.
not, like obviously, my Sound of Music.
It's not The Sound of Music. Can you
Sound of
imagine Courtney
Music.
Shayne in The Sound of Music?
What?
Can you imagine Courtney
No,
Shayne in The Sound of Music?
I knew exactly what character she would be. I know
Who?
exactly what character she would be. So there is this woman that Captain Von Trapp is engaged to, and she's kind of like a little not evil, but she just looks down upon like Maria, and that is exactly who Courtney Shayne would be.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Should be like, I'll shred you, whore.
kind of. Yeah.
Kind of, yeah. Did you know that I was in The Sound of Music musical
No, what the
in
fuck
high
are you
school?
talking about right now? Who were you?
Yeah. I was, well, as my
You one of the kids?
drama, well, as the drama teacher told me, I am an amazing actor, but a horrible singer, so I never had main roles. It's
Aw.
fine. So I was always like extra characters, like people that don't sing.
Mhm.
But my most iconic moment in that was as a Nazi. So that's cool.
You were a Nazi
Yeah.
in The Sound of Music.
Well, yeah, someone had to fill the role.
So, have you seen
Um,
the movie?
I have. I mean, it's been a long time. I mean, I couldn't sit here and really break it down for you like I break these movies down.
Maybe we need to do a rewatch. Maybe that's the next
Okay.
episode.
And we'll do a little musical. I'll pick a musical, I'll do Sound of Music and we'll do those.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. Um, cool. Obviously I love Jawbreaker. I don't think it's necessarily a 10 out of 10, but that's not a bad thing.
No.
I'd probably give it an 8 or a 9 as well.
Mhm.
Um, I I really think that it was inspired by a lot of movies that came before it. It inspired a lot of movies that came after it, but in a weird way, I still feel like it stands on its own.
Yep.
Um, and you know, I've not seen every movie that Rose McGowan's in, but I do think that this is probably my favorite Rose McGowan character. I love her in Scream, of course, as Tatum. But she just brings something to this character. Um, and I'll say it again, I said it at the beginning of the podcast, but all of you people that love Regina George and think she's a boss ass bitch, she would be taken down in a heartbeat by Courtney Shayne.
Oh no,
So
Courtney.
don't bring yeah, don't bring your Reginas here because Courtney will take you down, I promise. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about Jawbreaker? Anything that stuck out? Any notes that you had
Oh,
that
there was one line that I freaking love. And then it's she's so evil and she's only in high school.
yeah. Yeah,
I
I mean
love
that's
that one.
I think that really sums up the movie too. Like that I feel like that could be like the tagline for the film.
Yeah.
For all I know it might be. But there's so many iconic lines in this movie. Every time I watch it, I feel like I pick up on a different one. There's ones that people talk about all the time. Um, that's definitely one that people absolutely love. I could probably sit here and name a million. I think one of the other ones I use a lot is everything is peachy keen,
Peachy.
peachy fucking keen.
Yeah.
Um, they actually use the peachy keen line twice in the film, so I feel like that's used a lot. Um, and also, I think the other line that people use a lot. I of course made a story today that we were making an episode, and I used one of the lines was from three of the girls. They say, "Learn it, live it, love it."
Love it. Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
talking about Violet, so her new name and everything.
Is that um like top was that the Tatiana Ali?
No, I think it's when they're talking to Julie, introducing Fern as Violet now.
Mm-hmm.
They say that like each of them say, "Learn it, live it, love it."
Okay.
Like who this new person is.
Side note, Pam Grier was amazing. I don't think we mentioned that. She's awesome in
She
this
was.
movie. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I feel like her role is small, but her role is important, and she just owns the scene she's in. Kind of like I said about Tatiana Ali.
She's
Uh,
such a badass.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else?
That is it. Like I said, I loved it. Thank you, Dave, for introducing me into Jawbreaker.
Hey, you're welcome. I have a whole list of other movies to introduce you to, and um,
Yes.
You're always, I love talking with you about movies, and I feel like you're always an easy person to be like, hey, let's talk about this. So I'm sure I'll see you back real soon.
Yes.
Could be for episode 3 or whatever, but we'll talk more, figure it out, and go from there. But thanks again for doing episode 2 with me. And
Yeah.
can't wait to see what we do next.
Me too. Thanks,
All right,
Peachy.
well, enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you soon.
Sounds good. Bye.
Bye.